For passengers, it's a vacation, a chance to get away, relax, and enjoy some well-deserved R&R. For cruise lines, it's something completely different. A 24/7, 365-day-a-year battle for your cruise dollars. The efforts of literally hundreds of thousands of people, all designed to give you the perfect vacation and bring in literally billions of dollars in return. And that battle is never ending. Stand still and your competitors will come out with ships that are bigger, better, and capture the public's imagination and their share of wallet. The trick is to do a careful dance of investing billions, catering to constantly changing consumer tastes, and accommodate millions of passengers, all while cruises continue to go around the clock. It's a never-ending battle in cruising, and it only shows signs of speeding up. In any competition, it's helpful to know the lay of the land. What exactly are cruise lines fighting over? According to industry statistics, 31.5 million passengers are projected to take an ocean-going cruise in 2023. That's up 6% from 2019, the last year before the pandemic. So, not only is cruising back, it's actually growing. To put that figure in perspective, this year, more people will cruise than live in the entire state of Texas. By 2027, just another 4 years from now, that figure is set to rise to nearly 40 million people, about 25% higher than it is today. And all those millions of people spend billions and billions of dollars. How much might surprise you. Much like the car industry has brands to fit different segments that then roll up to a parent company, the cruise industry is dominated by just a handful of major players, albeit with several cruise lines each. There's Carnival Corporation, which owns names like Carnival, Princess, Costa, Cunard, and others. Royal Caribbean Group operates Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Silversea. And Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings is the parent of NCL, Regent Seven Seas, and Oceania. There are other lines like Virgin Voyages and Disney, but when it comes to the bulk of the industry, it falls to these three companies. The smallest of these three is Norwegian. Across lines, its fleet measured 29 ships at the end of last year, with 3 more coming online in 2023. In the past 12 months, those ships have generated $7.2 billion in revenue. Royal Caribbean Group is considerably larger. The cruise company has more than 60 ships, with 2 more coming online in 2023, and its newest mega ship, Icon of the Seas, taking on passengers in 2024. In the past year, the company has earned revenue of $12 billion. But the largest cruise company is Carnival Corporation. At the end of 2022, Carnival had a passenger capacity of more than 250,000 people across 91 ships. And in the past 4 quarters, the company has brought in roughly $17.5 billion in revenue. 3 companies combined to earn nearly $37 billion in revenue in a single year. And as more passengers set sail in the years to come, that figure will only grow larger. With billions at stake, cruise lines invest constantly to push the envelope on what a cruise can be. The risk is being left behind. That starts with size. During the past 3 decades, cruise ships have exploded in size. In terms of gross tonnage, the typical cruise ship came in around 70,000 gross tons in the early 1990s. Over time, that's rocketed higher. Today, ships will range from 140,000 to 180,000 gross tons, with the largest ships like Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas breaking 250,000 gross tons. That's 3.5 times the size of a ship in the 1990s. There are all sorts of reasons for these larger ships. For one, there are efficiencies of scale. It's much less expensive to carry 5,000 passengers on one ship than to have to build and operate 2 ships carrying 2,500 people. But larger cruise ships also offer more space, meaning that more things to do, see, eat, and experience can be put on board. And that's what's required as today's passengers expect more than ever when they take a cruise. Today's megaships can measure 1,200 feet long, have 20 decks, and nearly 3,000 passenger cabins. Due to that size, they can also pack on so much more. Gone are the days when a ship would have a buffet in the dining room. Modern ships will have a dozen spots to eat, add in areas to get a snack or quick serve restaurants, and it could be closer to 20 places to get something to eat in some cases, and catering to all types of tastes from high-end dining to fast food. There's been the same sort of growth in lounges and bars. The poolside bar isn't going anywhere, but there are now bars on a ship to fit any sort of mood you want. Of course, the activities on a cruise ship have continued to be a battle of the cruise lines, one upping each other to attract new customers. One cruise line puts in a racetrack, another puts in a roller coaster. One cruise line puts in bumper cars, and another puts in wild water slides. Ships built 2 or 3 decades ago would have a pool and a space for you to work on your tan. The fight for your vacation has now led to ships that offer more things to do than ever before. From decades ago to today, there's arguably nothing that hasn't been improved to make your vacation better or get you to open your wallet a little bit wider. You can still get a basic cruise cabin, but higher-end rooms have gone from simply a cabin with a little more space to multi-story suites that compare with a New York penthouse. Perks can include drink packages, Wi-Fi, your own butler, and even exclusive areas like pools and lounges that are off limits to other guests. This continual one-upsmanship doesn't stay on the ship either. Private island destinations have transformed with literally hundreds of millions of dollars being spent by individual companies and billions across the industry. Whether it's sleepy islands turned into literal theme parks or completely new areas created for guests to enjoy, just as life on the ship has continually gotten bigger and better to keep pace, so too have destinations. But it's not just about attracting more customers. It's also about incentivizing those customers to spend more in total. Newer and larger ships command a premium in cruise fare over older ships. What you pay for the cruise, however, is just one part of what you'll spend on your vacation. Onboard spending is a major revenue component that the lines fight for and generally makes up about 1/3 of total revenue. In other words, the battle to get you to spend and to persuade you to spend more is crucial to the growth of the company. Here, you've likely experienced the battle for a share of your wallet without even realizing it. For one, consider the layout of ships. Promenades through the center include bars and stores surrounding them. And of course, the casino is always close to these spots. Practically any venue here is designed to get you to spend money during your cruise. At the same time, cruise lines continue to add on charges. Specialty restaurants are now anything but special, as spots charge a payment for meals outside of the buffet and dining room. More entertainment options are seeing charges on cruise ships, such as riding go-karts or visiting escape rooms. And room service, which used to be free, now generally sees charges for most items. But the lines have also learned from consumer behavior. You'll notice that cruise lines offer discounts on items like drink packages, Wi-Fi, or specialty restaurants if you book ahead of time. This isn't just out of the niceness of their hearts. Cruise lines have learned that if passengers purchase packages ahead of time, they tend to spend more overall. It's a concept called a fresh wallet. Say you wait until you board a cruise ship to buy a drink package. That's a big chunk of change you've spent right at the start of the vacation, and you may not be in the mood to spend as much during the rest of your cruise. But if a passenger spends that same amount by buying months in advance, then by the time they get on the ship, they have a fresh wallet and are willing to spend more while on the cruise. Perhaps most interesting in the battle between cruise lines is that the fierce competition leads to a couple of things that you wouldn't expect. First, while the companies do all compete, their competition isn't a zero-sum game. No cruise company is a threat to put another cruise line out of business. In fact, former Carnival Corporation CEO Arnold Donald liked to refer to other companies in the space as rivals, but land-based vacations as the actual competition. What's been the case is that given the relatively small amount of the public that has actually taken a cruise, more cruise lines, more cruise ships, and more competition has actually led to an overall growth of the industry, a tide that has lifted all boats. As the number of people that take a cruise increases, so too does the number of people likely to take another cruise. Also interesting is that given the competition, you might think that each line would take radically different directions to set themselves apart. Yes, there are differences between cruise lines, but anyone that has sailed multiple lines can tell you that the vast majority of the experience is similar when sailing aboard a major line. That's not by accident. When a cruise line has an innovation that works, it's copied by others in the industry. Take what was said by Carnival's former CEO a few years ago when discussing other lines. Quote, "I do see them as sometimes having best practices that we should adopt. I look everywhere for that, not only with them, but hotels and amusement parks, and anywhere where we can identify a best practice for a guest experience. We have no shame or anything in copying a real good idea that delivers a guest experience." Millions of passengers, hundreds of ships, and mountains of cash at stake. It leads to an industry that's constantly pushing the limit of what's possible on a cruise ship. With megaships continuing to be introduced that are larger and more impressive, that battle to keep up and even surpass rivals shows no signs of slowing down. And the prize is literally billions of dollars to the cruise lines that get it right. It's transformed an industry over the past decades. There's no telling where it will lead next.